All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a fantastic week. Been a little bit of chop consolidation happening here. Bitcoin still moving to the upside, looking good. We were actually anticipating that the dollar was going to rally this week, and we thought that might put some pressure on Bitcoin, though apparently it did not. Today we're seeing a little pullback, but I would assume the pullback is happening not because of dollar strength, but because there's a lot of liquidity setting above February's high. That was the major liquidation pinpoint area that we've been keeping our eyes on for a long time. It is the level that I decided that I would want to be short if Bitcoin were to reject at that price. And essentially that's what you have happening here, just because of what it is, right? That is the top of this entire range. So the fact that you're pulling back there does make a little bit of sense. We'll see if it continues to pull back. You also have the weekly 21 exponential moving average setting at 78,404. There are a few levels here, quite a bit of resistance. You've got Q4's low up here. You've got a lot of stuff under the early opening range. But the pullback that you're seeing is not aggressive, so it doesn't feel as if though it would be a big move lower. However, if you think it is going to be the top and you do have a bearish bias, then this is the area that you would be looking for the short. I've been saying that pretty much all week because it's been going up pretty much all week. So it does look like Bitcoin might be losing a little bit of an inverse relationship to the dollar, which is nice. I would love to see Bitcoin become volatile to the upside like the risk markets did, as that would kind of indicate to us that, you know, the supply squeeze is going to happen. Hasn't happened yet. But if it wants to continue to move up, that's also good, as it's better than going down. You can see that you're still well below the daily 200. But like I said, it doesn't look rough. Doesn't look bad. Here's the thing. I would like to see a lot more aggressiveness out of the price than what I'm seeing here. It does look like maybe it's in price discovery, even though it's grinding to the upside, but it almost feels like, you know, there could be a move lower coming here. So just be well aware at what's going on. Yesterday, we had our eyes on Pingu because Pingu is actually testing the yearly opening range. So if Bitcoin's going to pull back, we anticipate that the alts will also pull back, or the alts that are moving to the upside. Pingu has already liquidated its multi-month range. If I go out to the weekly time frame here, you can see that this is well above the liquidation point. So you already liquidated February's high on Pingu. You did that week number 2 after that big drop. You liquidated it here and now here. So it does kind of look like it could be a 3-drive topping formation. But I mean, generally we look for that at the top of ranges. This is the top of a range, but I mean like on the top of the market, like when a market is topping, when it's forming a top. Not during a consolidation pattern. So we actually think these things are going to break out. We just don't know when. And the dollar is currently testing the daily and weekly 21 exponential moving average. So it's the gap up here that we were looking at for the dollar. We thought maybe if the dollar could get up into this area, it would head higher and at least fill a midpoint of this gap before rolling over, if it is going to continue to be bearish. As we had 2 weeks of bearish price action, you got 2 closes under the weekly 21. So we would be, you know, looking to see if this area is going to act as resistance or not. Generally on the day, I'm very skeptical. Yesterday we were looking at oil, but I told, you know, everybody in the live stream yesterday that it might not be today, it could be tomorrow. Well, that's exactly what's played out here. It wasn't that day. As you can see, when you open the new day, it had a short squeeze. It spiked up and took out all the shorts that were selling based on the 21 retest. So we have a scenario here where it almost looks like oil wants to continue to go up, even though it is at a decent level to look for shorts. But you're above the 50 here on the RSI. So if it's going to roll over, you liquidated last week's high. This is the level that I would want to see it fail at. I was unable to take a position there because this wick right here got me. So we'll see what happens, but this would have been the entry that I would have been looking for. If you got in there this morning, you're good. I would just hold that. I wouldn't get out. I don't know that it's going to roll over. Obviously, I can't predict what price will do, but that is the level that it's a good level to be mitigating risk from. So in terms of crypto shorts, if we were looking for shorts, we would be looking for that on Pingu. It's up the most. It had an 11% rally. So it doesn't look like it's going to roll over. It looks like it's basing here under resistance. Some people think that that's a bearish signal. It's not always a bearish signal. A breakout could be coming, right? But we'll see what happens to it. Because it's trading inside this previous 8-hour candle, this is definitely the low that needs to be taken out. So the short today would be high of day, and only if it rejects a high of day retest. If we go into the small time frame, you're a pretty good piece away from that area. So I would like to see this lower high stay the lower high if it's going to roll over. I would like to see it roll over from here. I don't want to see it continue to trade back up into the high of day, because at that point it isn't a short. You know what I mean? So if it's going to be a short, I would love to see it roll over from here. 4-hour res, that's going to be about 85.62. That would be the near-term short entry if you were looking for the short. And then obviously the bulls are going to be buying the higher lows. The bulls are going to be looking for the breakout. So I like the breakout on Bitcoin. I don't like where the dollar is today to even look for a trade on Bitcoin. I think the dollar might continue to go a little bit higher as long as the straight is still closed. The fact that Bitcoin has been bullish this week is a good sign, but it could just be a liquidation run. It doesn't look like it. The daily looks fine, right? But it is what it is. It's a very shallow pullback. You're holding the weekly VWAP. So if you want to attempt a long entry on Bitcoin there, that price is at 76,962. Bitcoin has essentially been going up all week. So this is your weekly open. It opened. It just has been going straight up literally all week. So this is the first actual pullback that you've gotten all week. It has not been an aggressive move up. Yesterday, Bitcoin was up about 3%. But in terms of the weekly range itself, it's up at the highs about 5. Currently, you're still up 3 on Bitcoin for the weekly range. So it is a nice upside expansion. I would like to see that continue, even if the dollar does move up. That would be very strong in my opinion. Long-term Bitcoin looks good. Some of the things that we discussed yesterday on Bitcoin is you got a 12-hour bullish cross here where the 21 crosses back to the upside above the 200. It speaks to construction. It doesn't necessarily mean that the bear market is over, but it does speak to construction. If you go back in time since the bear market started and look at these two averages, literally when you got the cross to the downside, you have not crossed back up. So price, even like right here, it got well above the 200, but ultimately faded before the 21 could cross. And then the next time was over here where you got that closest almost crossed, same scenario. You got above the 12-hour 200 and then it got faded instantly there. So I would argue that this same thing was going on here and could still be going on, but you do have that cross. You do have that cross. Now, in a choppy market environment, which we were in, you can't really call this choppy anymore because you are breaking out. You are trading above prior month highs, right? You're still under the yearly opening range, so you're still bearish on the year, but on the near term, you have construction happening. So at some point, people will start to shift their biases, and we'll see if this amounts to anything or not. It's just a moving average signal. 1 or 2 really good down days, this would cross back to the downside. If that happens, then I would be more bearish. Probably, right? Like, I'm bullish Bitcoin all the way down to $35,000. So it doesn't really matter to me what it does here, but I would love for the lows to be in, as it would, in my opinion, catch a lot of people off sides or not ready, right? A lot of people are going by fractals and going by 4-hour, or not 4-hour, but 4-year market cycles. They think that the bear market isn't going to be over for several more months. We have a midterm election coming up and all of that stuff. So, I mean, that's all factoring into price here. One thing we know for sure, because of the supply shock that Saylor has created, is Bitcoin is most likely underpriced here. With risk markets going to the upside. And because Bitcoin has already hit weekly oversold levels, it had more momentum to the downside in this cycle than any cycle prior, if you will. Because in all other 4-year market cycles, in April, here, let's just go look at it real quick. Just this way I can clarify to the audience as to what I'm talking about. Let's go look at all data. And then, so essentially here is where you were in April. Let me turn this on. Do I have the other 2018 bear market April bottom as well? 2018. Okay. So these two cycles right here are both midterm years. And both of these cycles, 2018, 2022, were 4-year cycles. So literally everything that we have now going on with this new cycle. But we get midterms every 4 years, right? Just like everything else. So I've been seeing a lot of comparisons made to, like, this rally needs to be faded because that rally got faded back in 2018 and it ended up making fresh bear market lows. And the same goes for in the 2022 bear market cycle, right? This is where you are in comparison to this cycle. All those analyses, and in my opinion, are not legit. And I'm going to show you why just by pulling up the RSI. Like, if you look where the RSI was when you were in April in 2018, you were retesting the 50 and you had not been oversold yet. Same scenario back in 2022. You were retesting the 50. We were bearish in 2022. Like, my whole community. We were extremely bearish here. So why aren't we extremely bearish here? Because every single time this thing is hit oversold in its entire history, it has gone on to hit overbought. That is why. So we think that momentum was far more aggressive in this cycle that we're currently in than it was here in 2022 and back in 2018, as you have hit oversold. S&P 500 is at all-time highs. So essentially, we know because we looked at data on Saturday's upload that the institutions are more bullish now than they ever have been in terms of call buying. So it seems to be only the bears that think that this is not a fresh all-time high on the S&P 500. It doesn't make sense. Like, your bear market, or what you thought was going to be a bear market, is not only over, like, you've broken out. You're heading higher. But I mean, anything can happen, right? Could you get fresh all-time highs and then go into a bear market? Yeah, but in conditions that are getting better, does that really make sense? Not really. Not really at all. So, I mean, it is possible that Bitcoin does roll over and come back to oversold again. It's never happened before, but it is possible that this will be the first time ever in history. So basically, the comparison of where you were in April of 2022 and April of 2018 is not the same because of momentum, right? So with that being said, I mean, you have a massive call wall up here at $80,000. You have a massive put wall down there at $20,000. I don't know how much of this call wall is going to be decimated tomorrow. Tomorrow is an expiration day, and there is quite a large amount of options coming off tomorrow. Hang on. I keep clicking all the wrong ones right here. So this date is very weird. That's not how we make the date in the US, but that's 2026. That's April. That's the 24th of April. So tomorrow, you're going to see a large amount of premium come off the table for expiration. And then the next large period will be all the way out to June 26th. So there could be a lot of volatility tomorrow. A lot of volatility tomorrow. So just keep your minds open. Don't get too one-sided in this scenario. The bottom could be in, according to momentum. And I think a lot of people are not seeing that. A lot of people are missing that one very small but very important concept. Like Bitcoin, when it hits oversold on the weekly time frame, that is when our analysis shifts from being bearish to bullish on the long term, but knowing that we could make fresh lows. It's not our base case, though. It isn't our base case that we do make fresh lows. If we do make fresh yearly lows on Bitcoin, we would be so bullish there. Like, not looking for a $30,000 price target. We would be uber bullish at 55 or 50K, depending on what price does, if it gets there, right? That's if it even gets there. I started accumulating at 67K because if you look at the put and call wall range and do a midpoint of that range, because it's at 60 and 80, midpoint is 70K. So that is essentially value, in my opinion. So that is where I've been buying Bitcoin, and I will all the way down if it continues to go lower. It's just not my base case, but we'll see what happens. I would love to see more aggressive buying pressure, but because it is not aggressive does not mean that the bears still have control of this asset. Because the VIX is down. It is back down, right? Your VIX is trading today at 1935. Now, obviously, it's still elevated above $15. But to be honest with you, the VIX has spent very little time under 15 since Trump has been elected. Since Trump has been in office, the VIX has just maintained an elevated state. It's because he is one of the most, yeah, you know why, right? Like, he just cannot shut up. He gots to tweet, and because of that, the markets go absolutely bonkers. So we'll see what happens. It is a good place to put on bearish positions. I am not like so blindly bullish that I would take off my shorts that I have on Bitcoin here. No, not yet. We're starting to see repair. Everything looks good. The month of April looks really, really good. We know we're not out of the woods. We know that the sell and may go away thing is out there and fully well known at this point by most of retail. So we know all of these things. But on the very near term, the market is more bullish here than it is bearish. Right? You're back above all major moving averages on the daily time frame, save for the 200. Like, there's your 100. So literally, you're above everything on the daily. Go to the 12-hour, right? Your 21 is crossing the 200. So a lot of really positive, constructive order flow. But if it rolls over here, this is one of the biggest levels that we were looking to put defensive short positions on. But, you know, only put those positions on in the terms of like a hedge, right? Expecting full well that this trade will be stopped out at some point. So you're still here. You're still close enough to the level to literally put a hedge on. If you think Bitcoin is going lower, you want to protect your downside risks. But yeah, bull markets across the board. This thing was going absolutely apeshit. I would say that this is a short squeeze. It's literally Avis Budget Group. Just insanity. It based out for quite a while at $100. And then it went on this parabolic meteorize. I couldn't find any news to support, you know, what caused it. Like, was there some kind of bullish catalyst? There might have been. I just didn't see any news that said there was. But it looks like that meteoric rise is probably over. This will be one of the most favorite downside scalping instruments for the day. The bell has rung, and as long as when you start making fresh daily lows, people are going to be looking for shorts, right? That's just the way it's going to be. This was a nasty down day yesterday. A lot of people made a lot of money on CAR. So basically the way people are going to be scalping this is on fresh day lows, they're going to be opening shorts. So every time you make a fresh daily low, they will be taking shorts. I am not trading this, so I mean, I leave it up to you if you guys want to, but the options on this is, if there is options on it, is probably so volatile there's no point in even trying to get put on this. You can, but it's just super volatile. If it bounces today or spends most of the day just grinding sideways, you will lose all that premium. So it looks like yeah, it looks like people are going to be watching this all day. All right, let's go back over here to Pingu. The bell has rung. So Pingu is the preferred method to look for shorts for me today, but I've been short on it since real early this morning. So I'm actually short up at the yearly opening range. If Bitcoin breaks out, I fully intend to eat a stop on Pingu. All right, but if you're looking for shorts, you're going to be trying to position somewhere in and around 4-hour res. I wouldn't get short if you're trading above 4-hour res, because if you're trading above this, it's most likely coming back to the high of day. And this thing moves. It moves a lot. If you've got any amount of leverage on this, your stop loss is going to be super tight. Super tight. But yeah, instead of shorting Bitcoin, I think Pingu would be a better bet. It's useless. If Bitcoin rolls over and makes fresh bear market lows, Pingu will do the same thing. If I look at Bitcoin here, where it is right now, from where it's currently trading down to the 2026 yearly low, that's a 22% move. If we look at Pingu and do the same thing, it's a 37% move. So I'd much rather short something like this, as you can see, and make twice as much money if it's going to roll over. It's also giving a better signal as it's the yearly open retest. You can't say that Pingu is bearish if it is closing daily candles above this price. I don't give a shit what it did in 2025. You would literally be positive on the year. And it's going to be hard to say that it's a bearish asset when you're up on the year. You know what I mean? That's my whole contention with the SPY right now. How can you say this thing is bearish? Yeah, you not only are you positive on the year, you're above all-time highs. It's anything but bearish. And if you didn't see Saturday's upload, go check it out as I drop actual data to show you that institutions have been more bullish the last 3 weeks than they had all of 2025. So I'm assuming they're bullish because they think a potential print is coming, right? And when the government prints or, buys treasuries, then asset prices go up. We'll see what happens. Gold and silver both pulling back a little bit. This is going to be due to dollar strength. They are not inversely correlated right yet. To the dollar, but I mean, on the higher time frame charts here on the daily, the silver looks okay. This looks like a trap almost. If silver loses its 12-hour 200, I would be bearish on it. But I did not get in on the short. I was actually focusing on oil to see when it's going to roll over. Last week's open, this is actually last week's high. It's not last week's open. Actually last week's high because you liquidated it. Right? You liquidated it. So if you're going to see oil continue to go lower, right here is where I would expect that to happen from. That's why I'm more than okay with looking for shorts on oil, but not if it's trading above this price. Because if it's trading above this price, also another thing that we have to be very hyper focused on here, looking for shorts. The last 3 days, the bulls have been in control of this asset. And price has been confirming their directional bias. So the bulls have been buying and price has been respecting their wishes. It has been going up. So this typically isn't a good short signal. You know what I mean? So yeah, the only way I can be short oil is if it refuses to go higher than this price right here. That price is 98.79. If it's above that, I am not holding shorts. I do not have the trade open yet. Yesterday we tried a short at 4-hour res and it did not work out. I ended up closing it out. I didn't eat a full stop. It was so slow yesterday I didn't have to. You're trading at 4-hour res again. Is it, it's an aggressive short. If you put a short on here, it is aggressive. As your range high for the last 4-hour session, the high is all the way up here. It could reject here. The odds just aren't great that it does. This is going to be your highest 30-minute close. So far, you haven't closed the 30-minute candle higher than that. Right now, you're testing 4-hour res and breaking out above 30-minute resistance. So it does look like it wants to come back and retest this. So as long as you got to be careful putting on a short in the face of bullish pressure. The bulls are in control of this asset. Generally, we want the bears to be in control of the asset if we're looking for shorts, right? I don't have a good example of that, unfortunately, because even on Pingu, the bulls are kind of in control of it, as you are above the neutral line here. Now, this is a lot better looking for a short because you're just above neutral, and heavy selling pressure would have this drop into bearish territory. But if you are looking for shorts, this one looks a little bit better to be short than oil. But it is bullish. Like, there really aren't very many good shorts to take right now, guys. The markets are all pretty much going up. And if you keep trying to short a market that is moving up, you're going to keep getting stopped out. I mean, that's just the reality of the way this business works. Obviously, I wouldn't be looking for longs up here. You know what I mean? I'm not getting long at the top of the potential range. So it's pretty much a set on your hands day unless you get a signal. And for all the things that I look for, there is no signal. But this could be signal if it stops going higher. So we'll watch it. We almost would have to short it right now if we want to be involved in a short, because I think if it rolls over, it will be fast and hard, and unlikely we will be able to catch it. So probably going to have to fill a short market order or a short limit order at 4-hour res. And then just mitigate it, right? Put a stop up here or something like that, because we don't want to be short if it's heading to this level. We want to be short from this level and under. It's already going to be difficult to even get fill because that 30-minute candle reversed kind of on the dot. Obviously, if oil breaks down aggressively, there's a chance that Bitcoin and cryptos rip. All right, so I'm filled, but I got a very tight stop out. I've just got my stop simply right above this 30-minute high. This is very bullish. There's no point in me playing or getting cute with this asset. It looks to me like it definitely wants to go higher. You're above the daily 21 here. We were looking at the daily 50, but it got above it yesterday. Could today be a trap? Yes, this is why we're interested in the short. This could absolutely end up looking like this. And then moving on down to oversold. This is why we're keeping it on watch for the short. But we understand that intraday, the bulls are firmly in control of this asset. Them sneaky bears, man. They're so sneaky. Because what'll happen here is if it does, I mean, I'm not anticipating that it does roll over today. It could be tomorrow or next week before it rolls over. But these bulls will all be the reason that the move is aggressive if it breaks down, right? That's what we saw the last time here. And we were privy to this. You can see the price action was not super bullish, but even though the deltas were massively bullish, price was barely trending. Another hyper aggressive bullish day. Price does not agree, and then boom, dump Ola. And it's been a long time since that's happened. Beginning of April. Well, it's been days since it's happened, but a couple weeks, right? Couple weeks. Same kind of scenario could play out. That's why that move was so violent to the upside. The bears were off sides. Hopefully one of the others off sides today. We'll see. We'll see. The dollar is currently testing the weekly and daily 21 exponential moving average. So the dollar could go up today because people are going to be looking for the short on the dollar, right? There's an indicator here. People are going to be shorting. It's facts. So sometimes what we see happen is the day will continue to be bullish to stop all those people out. And then if it is going to roll over, it will generally do it the day after or 2 days later, right? But that's only if it's going to be a trap. If it breaks out and continues making fresh highs, that's not a trap. So oil is continuing to push. Makes sense that the dollar is doing the same thing. So there goes your oil. Stopped me out. It's fine. It was a $20 loss. If I'm right and I make the money that I make on this will be hundreds, not tens. I think the best trade is up here, right? Because it's just so much easier. At least we don't have to wait on an intraday level. It's a weekly level. There's a lot more eyes on this level up here than there is on a 4-hour res. A lot more eyes. Also, it may be wanting to base out up here or something. Who knows? The strait is closed, so that could put bullish pressure on oil, no doubt. We are aware of the risks. Even Pingu is not rolling over here. So Bitcoin must be not going lower. Would love to see Bitcoin break out aggressively. Ethereum is weak and Fartcoin was weak yesterday. The Fartcoin short worked yesterday. And unfortunately, I didn't take it. It was just grinding. It had been grinding for hours. The short didn't play out until 2 o'clock anyways. But ultimately, once it did play out, it worked. It reversed and went back all the way down. That was a pretty big move. It was a 7% move. We got 12 minutes left, so 3:15. Or we just put the 15-minute chart up. You're already closing above that resistance. So that was your close above. If this 15-minute candle takes out the low, I will chase it down to there and put my stop in the same place. I will leave it alone if it does not make a fresh low. Because when this candle closes, that will be the close of your 30-minute candle, and your 30-minute res is right here. All right. Very, very simple. Good morning, champ. What's up, everybody? Good morning. I shorted yesterday. Good morning. Good morning. I'm looking for a silver long. Silver is at the bottom of my channel, but it did break 4-hour structure. This time is different. Look at the MA and RSI. I hate when anybody says this time is different. No offense, Cabby. I'm just reading comments. It doesn't matter to me when people say this time is different. I'm literally saying this time is different, right? I didn't come out and say this time is different, but I'm simply stating that if you're comparing 2018 and 2022, where price was in April, right? If that is your comparison, that Bitcoin is going to make fresh lows, then yes, this time is different because the RSI is already hit oversold. And some people may roll their eyes at that statement, but it has 100% of the time called cycle lows on Bitcoin. So could this time be different and it doesn't? Yeah, it could. But if it isn't, then everybody that's anticipating much lower prices are probably going to be wrong. And they definitely don't want to hear that because they're bearish, right? Their positions are going to pay out if Bitcoin goes much lower. So, I mean, but those people, I'm not trying to change their minds, right? Let's be clear. I respect all analysts and their craft. I'm not saying that those analysts are wrong. I'm simply just trying to let somebody who's on the fence maybe I want to buy Bitcoin, but I'm afraid that the lows aren't in. That person, that's the person I'm trying to reach. If you are that person, Bitcoin has already most likely bottomed. And we have a very good signal to glean that information from being the RSI. So if you want to participate in future Bitcoin rallies, the buy signal has already been fired. It's already fired off. So you should have already been long a long time ago. But it's still in the same range, so you can continue to build a position, right? That's the person I'm trying to reach. Now, with that being said, you still have to mitigate that risk. You still have to throw out a stop loss somewhere because this time could be different and Bitcoin could go make fresh lows. And in that scenario, you don't want to get killed. You don't want to set in a losing position. You want to get out and wait for the low to be put in. Because a low will be put in. This Sailor has accumulated pretty much most of the selling pressure. But some people are just outright bearish based on the 4-year cycle model. And that's not a good enough reason to be bearish, in my opinion, right? because retail has sold a lot of coins, and so has miners, and Saylor has bought them all. That's essentially why you are not seeing fresh lows. Michael Saylor has essentially plugged the leaky boat. That's why it is still floating. You're going to need a massive bearish catalyst to get new lows, probably. A massive bearish catalyst. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But anyways, Bitcoin is at the February high. It liquidated the February high. So if you are looking to put on shorts for hedges against your longs, this is a good area to do that. Same scenario, stops must be put out just in case it breaks out. Nobody truly knows what price will do. We all look at indicators and the macro backdrop, and then we all make our assessment. That is essentially all we're doing. As a price action analyst, I tend to let price tell me which direction it's going, and then I look to, trade it in that direction. Some people don't bother with price, and it does them a very it's an injustice to their viewers, because somebody may miss like one of the biggest bullish market breakouts in Bitcoin's entire history. Now that you have every, or at least 5 of the top 5 investment funds out there all have Bitcoin products now. Goldman Sachs was the last one to get on board, and they said they are going to, in the next 24 to 36 months, build a position. So there you go. All of them are involved now. So when the breakouts happen now, because Goldman Sachs' strategy is to sell calls, right? It is to stifle Bitcoin volatility to the upside. When it breaks out now, the breakout can be far more aggressive, as those positions will be rolled and, short squeezes will be on. Bitcoin finding a little bit of intraday resistance. It has been a pretty slow trading asset of late. Like I said, Pingu looks the best for a short than any of them, just looking at indicators. Bitcoin also looks good because your deltas are negative here on Coinbase. That's typically what we would want to see if we were looking for a short trade. I haven't even looked at the session volume profile on Bitcoin today. I just woke up a little bit ago. Yeah, yesterday you can see the sellers were putting on. The sellers have been all over Bitcoin at these highs. The first day we broke out was Friday of last week. It had a nice rally. That was like the first time we got that weekly 21 retest. Sellers aggressively attacking Bitcoin there. Aggressively attacking Bitcoin on Monday and Sunday, as your point of controls are at the top of the range, and then aggressively attacking it here. Now, this is going to help Bitcoin break out if it breaks out. All of these people will be stopped out. These people are already stopped out. But the new shorts put on yesterday, they will be stopped out. The VWAP is still very much being held here, so I could be a buyer on Bitcoin. It's late. It's Thursday. I'm not usually looking to put on new positions on Thursday. But if Bitcoin were to like pull back down into the $76,200 range and hold that for a couple hours, I would probably be bullish down there. As the next step I would want to see it do is rally back above the VWAP. As long as the VWAP is under price, the bulls are in, they have the order flow. They have, yeah, they're in control of price, essentially. Or price is respecting their wishes. As it has been making fresh weekly highs all week long. Like I said, this is your weekly open right here. It's only been going up all week. And yesterday was a pretty good move. It wasn't just a wick out and failure. It was a legit breakout. But that's only in this week's range. Last week's high was here. So this does look like a failure above last week's high, above February's high. So it still looks very bad. It doesn't look very bullish. 4 weeks of straight up, though, can't be discounted. And the monthly looks decent. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. There's 7 days left on this monthly candle. It looks like it's failing, but there's zero momentum. Yet, if the oil and the dollar breaks out back to the upside, you probably will see momentum to the downside. Going back over to oil, it did not make that lower low, so you have a 30-minute close above resistance. You have a higher high. This is what I'm talking about. Very difficult to put on shorts as long as it looks like it wants to go up. So that should help the Pingu short. We'll see. It's a pretty big range, I guess, on oil, but yeah, I don't know what this is. I thought maybe this was because I'm looking at the perpetual swap futures contract on weeks. I thought maybe this was literally just a bad candle, but if you look at WTI, it did the same thing. So that was a legit oil spike on the open yesterday for some reason. Might have been a headline news item come out or something at that time that made the market spike. There was a huge buildup of short positions, so literally just wicked them out. Every time is different, macro and micro. I agree with that. Yeah, the market is always future looking. It's never looking back. Market participants do not look back and get freaking old candles and apply them to new charts. You know what I mean? There's an old documentary out there on, oh my god, I know his name, but his name is slipping my mind. Tudor Jones, where he printed up a bunch of old data back in the 80s or something and was looking at similar indicators. So I guess in that scenario, Tudor Jones was looking at past technicals to get a future signal. But I mean, any trade idea is going to be a 50-50 shot, right? Regardless of how you come to the conclusion to put the position on, it still has a 50-50 chance of being right. But most of your macro analysts, and they're not looking at any kind of past price to dictate future positioning. They're trying to figure out what the macro is going to look like in the future. The economy is still doing good. We're not seeing a credit crisis. We went over this in Tuesday's live stream. All the banks have already reported earnings. You got earnings out of Tesla yesterday, I think. Yeah, earnings out of Tesla yesterday. So, I mean, all the banks have already reported, and we're not seeing a credit crisis. It would show up on the bank's balance sheet before it would. I mean, they're huge. They have huge exposures to credit. And their credit looks fine. So we're chalking it up to an overexposed to software. Why your credit companies or whatever got hit so hard. It's not because of a credit shock or something like that. The economy looks okay, right? It doesn't look great, but it's fine. It's this war that's essentially got everything shook up. Not Bitcoin, but Bitcoin started to get shook up in October, way before the war was even a fart in the wind. But I mean, oil prices now spiking or spiked. That's obviously going to be because of the war. So we are seeing some negative deltas come in here. Not as much as I would like to see, as it's still trading above 4-hour res here, but things were very slow yesterday. I hope they're not very slow today. Pingu ultimately did leave this area yesterday. This is about when we ended the stream. And you did get a 6% move to the downside. So if you were short Pingu yesterday, you should have been able to take profits on that. It's a big level. Big level. It's very easy to be short from there. You don't really need this anymore. Not doing anything on the small time frames. piano keys. Tomorrow, volatility to the upside. That's funny. How would I know what tomorrow's going to do? Right? I don't know what 1 second from now is going to do. No, I'm saying because those option contracts are going to expire, you could see volatility in either direction or both. Just keep that in mind. Don't get chopped up if prices are behaving in a way that you are, you get what I'm saying. It's like a witching. When a lot of options expiries happen, sometimes you see in traditional finance, a lot of people look for topping or bottoming formations around triple witching. It's not a triple witching. It's not a quarterly OPEX. It's a monthly OPEX. Your quarterly month OPEX for Bitcoin was last month, in month of March. June, that option expiry in June will be an OPEX. Right? Because July starts Q3. Yeah, April, May, June in Q2. July starts Q3. So this will be an OPEX or a big one, a quarterly one. If you look at options by strike, I mean, it's insane. There's definitely a lot more calls than puts right now that are open. So the skew is bullish. It is bullish. You have people taking bullish bets. But I would say, so open interest does not mean long calls, right? Open interest just means positions. Half of these are short calls. And that's going to be your premium traders, the guys that are just looking for price to go nowhere. They're selling premium. Bitcoin's been up straight up for 4 weeks. It makes sense that people would be selling premiums out above 80K right now. If I was trading on Bitcoin options, I would be selling premium because it's so slow. But further out than 80K. But that could act as resistance. If there's a lot of these calls expiring tomorrow, then Bitcoin could hypothetically break out above that. But I would, as long as you're trading under February, I'd be more defensive here than I would be like aggressively buying. It looks like the bulls are trying to take back over. And you still have not broken out to the upside on oil. We've only been open 35 minutes, 40 minutes. Apple giving another high day run. Nvidia looks like it's running out of momentum to the upside. It's overbought up here. And Tesla selling off after earnings. The earnings were a beat, so I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe deliveries were down, which we already knew deliveries were down. But top and bottom line beats. It's selling off. You could find out why if you wanted to. Look at that move lower, man. Damn it. Jesus. I told you, most people are going to be short this thing this morning. On every fresh day low. And it looks like every single 1 minute candle has been a fresh daily low. Oh my God. Every single one. Except for these two right here. These are the first candles that didn't make a fresh day low. Absolute insanity. This thing is going back to where it came from. Aggressively. That's a big move off the open. That's your open. You're down 30%. You're down more than that. You're down from yesterday's close, which is here. Right there. Yeah, so you're going to be down a lot more than 30. You'll be down about 40. Getting destroyed. That's a disgusting looking chart. That's a blow off, baby. It got all the way up to 95 on the daily RSI. And 91 on the weekly. I'd say it got a lot higher than that this week. Yesterday was the day that it's topped out and rolled over. That's Pucola. Earnings coming up in a couple days, but it's probably not going to save it. I'd say that was a short squeeze only. All right, let's see what we're doing here. This could be a trap if it gets under that 97.24 area. It's got to get under it though. You got 14 minutes left on this candle, so it's got plenty of time to do it. It is goofy, it is, but I mean, we have seen markets do behave very similar to that. Selling may go away. I mean, it is goofy, but it's just cliched is really what it is. Just another one of the cliched things you hear in trading. No worries, the signals are different. I went down the rabbit hole yesterday, yeah. 60K capitulation signal on chain was higher than 15K. Low is likely in, says Lunar Entity. Surf Bro says Tesla, please. I mean, it's pulling back today because it had earnings yesterday. I don't know what was said on the earnings call. Obviously something that the market didn't like. Because pre-market when the earnings were announced, or post-market when the earnings were announced, it was bullish. You took out yesterday and Tuesday, even Monday's high. So essentially you liquidated the weekly high and then rolled over. That's, and then went made fresh weekly lows. So that's typically a bearish signal. It makes sense that people are selling here today at Tuesday's low. It makes perfect sense. It's pulling back, you know what I mean? But it's volatile. Very volatile. You're back to red on the month. That's not a good thing. It is at monthly support. This is essentially where you'd want to see it stop going down. If it doesn't, that would be bad. Last week, Tesla broke out, had a very big bullish rally. You're testing the 618 of that range. That's not great. This is where we would want to see support hold. You've got a little bit too much bearish momentum to be a buyer, in my opinion, right now. Let me give you all the context, though, because it could stop here. We'll see. It looks to me like the bears are fully in control of this. So you'd be hard pressed to get me to be a buyer today at this low. I have no reason to be a buyer there other than its monthly support. It's just so much bearish momentum here. I typically don't want to be a buyer when that's happening. On news, there's news here. Tesla plans AI-driven self-driving cybercabs, semi-trucks, humanoid robots, and in-house chips. Joint Austin facility with SpaceX will build chips for vehicles, robots, and orbital data centers. I don't know how that would be bearish. Tesla automotive sales rose 20% year over year, boosting revenue. Services and higher priced offerings grew as ASPs, used vehicle sales, service activity, and paid supercharging usage increased. I don't see how that's bearish. But this might just be a pullback. It might be a buying opportunity. But as long as you're trading under monthly support, which is this white line, you have to be a cautious watcher. The closer you get to the end of the month, you got to you almost got to watch this every day from here on out to see if it's going to hold monthly support or not. If today was the close, if the monthly candle was about to close in the next 5 minutes, would this be a hold of support? The answer would be no. So as long as it's trading under this, it's threatening a breakdown. Threatening a breakdown. So the next objective level to look for potential support, 786. It's also 2 weeks ago's open. I mean, at this point, you're just the price is telling you it's not holding support. I wouldn't just go try to find random levels to buy. I would watch this one. This is where I'd want to see price hold. If this was anything more than just a short covering rally, then the bull should show up. At some point, the bull should show up. I don't like the fact that you filled that gap and then took off to the downside. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. I think you're seeing people vacate Tesla shares getting ready for the SpaceX ticker. But I mean, I could be wrong on that. I know a lot of people want to own SpaceX when it starts trading publicly. I do too. It looks like Archimedes did catch the short on Pingu yesterday, made 35%. Good job, bro. Good job. I'm not the man, dude. I only show you when price gets to the levels. That's it. Like, You can do this yourself. You don't need me. In fact, if I wouldn't have looked at Pingu yesterday, I wouldn't have even have known that it was a shorting opportunity. You know what I mean? But the first year open retest from underneath like this is always going to be, in my opinion, at least a short op. You might get stopped out, but it is definitely an op. This price is so key to this ticker symbol moving out into the future, because anybody that's looking at it, whether they're looking at it via a line chart or a monthly or a weekly, it doesn't matter. They're going to want to ask themselves one question: is it up or down on the year? Right? Most people aren't going to be a buyer if it's down on the year. They just, unless there's some fundamental reason to own it, and there isn't. Pingu is a meme token. Pudgy penguins. It was an NFT. NFTs are gone. Like, there might be a couple of them that are worth money, but that was the stupidest crypto craze I ever seen in my life. They're gone. It's over with. So why is this ticker any good anymore? Well, it's not. It lost 80% of its value. So, yeah, it's definitely a short, as long as it's under this. It's a meme token. It's garbage, in my opinion. There's no like real use case to this. There is a use case to Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't garbage. Bitcoin isn't the same as other cryptos. Bitcoin has actual real use case, real world value, in terms of you can literally move money anywhere in the world without any help. You can do it yourself. You don't need a bank to say yes or no. Everything does it on its own. It is a very useful asset. And now there's real institutional money in it. It is a financial vehicle. That is its use case. That is its value. It has been proven over time, as it has only gone up over time. So like if it was useless and, you know, had no value or wasn't going to be used as a financial vehicle for any reason at all, this thing would be trading for $1.50 or 20 cents. It's got real use case. So it probably doesn't go to zero unless of a black swan event. Pingu could definitely go to zero. So could Fartcoin, so could Bonk. That's why we watch them. These are our preferred methods of shorting in the crypto landscape, because they are useless, because they have no value. No value, no value add, no value proposition. It's just a meme token. So if we're going to be shorting these is paid off, because Bitcoin's only down 40. So if you want to look at it in terms of like shorting and what shorting really is and how it manifests, what it can do for your portfolio, we caught 80%. That 80% drop on Pingu was on 1010. We were live publicly that day. We took the trade together. We got a weekly open retest. Everything that we look at was perfect for the short. We took the short. 4:30 that day, we got a flash crash due to Binance. In another exchange, something happened, triggered a crash of 80% on Pingu. And I was able to jump out at the lows because it wasn't fast. It was It stayed on the lows for a bit. It was a very, very beautiful short. Very good stuff. So they can amplify your returns. They can also amplify your losses. So make sure you're mitigating risk. Oil has still not made that 30-minute lower low, which I would like to see. Dollar is retesting the day open right now. So the dollar is rejecting the daily and weekly 21 exponential. So it looks like the inverse relationship is back on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is kind of moving to the upside here at the same time that the dollar is moving to the downside. This could still be a low, but I mean, this is where we were looking for shorts on the dollar. Not at this exact price, but we were looking to see what it does once it retests the daily 21. If it fails, we will be looking to put those shorts on the dollar. I think it's a bit early, but I could also miss it because I'm not shorting it today. I am, however, shorting oil today. And so far, since the oil spike, the petrodollar has been basically trading lockstep with oil. Yeah, anyways, I don't know what data you're talking about in terms of, whoa, what just happened on chain for that 60k capitulation signal? I've seen a few different metrics. The MVRVZ score isn't quite into buy territory just yet, which is another on-chain metric we like to look at. But it's close. So, I mean, this indicator has always, always gone to green at the same time as Bitcoin hit oversold. This time it didn't, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. So basically what I mean is this indicator hits the green zone on this at the same time that Bitcoin hits oversold on the RSI. And you can see this time you did not get into the green zone. But I mean, it's close enough for me to start buying Bitcoin. I already own quite a bit of Bitcoin. I'm buying more. I'm doubling up my position size in Bitcoin. I have 2 kids. I'm planning on giving them each a wallet of equal value. So we'll see what happens with it. Dollar rolling over nicely, making lower lows here. Oil still has not made that lower 30-minute low. I don't care about the moving average. I don't look at moving averages on anything lower than a 4-hour. But that's the candle that broke out above resistance, so its low is super important for me. It speaks to upside continuation. If you can't make a lower low in the next 3 candles, it's probably going up. And we've currently got 2 of the 3 candles here. So I want to see that lower low, baby. Euro bouncing aggressively. But it's still very low on the range. It could be sold into. I would love to see these things start heading lower too. They're not. I guess it is on the 5 minutes, so that's good. But I mean, it's got to get down into here. Yeah, it's got to get lower than this stuff. It's heading in the right direction. Finally, price isn't really confirming the move. This thing still has plenty of time to do whatever it wants to do. I mean, it looks more bullish than bearish on pretty much all time frames. All time frames. It isn't until you get to the hourly it's starting to look like it's topping, but it's an hourly. Support is definitely 97.23 on the very near term. Bitcoin's still holding resistance, so we're getting a whole lot of chop solidation. Pudgy Pingu's still printing piano keys here. Piano keys. Absolute garbage. This thing can trend. Nice trend move there. Nice trend move there. And then you come to 7:30 this morning. For the last 2-3 hours, you have done literally nothing. Looks like it wants to go higher. Bulls appear to be defending or attempting to. I'd like to see something break. All right. Who is looking for shorts on Pingu? I am. I am short on Pingu. I don't know why that's an LOL, but okay. OKLO took off without me, but I grabbed the move on USAR from 16.3. OKLO. Let's go look at it real quick. I don't know what it is. I think we've looked at it before. USAR from 16.30. Oh, well, you grabbed it at a nice price. 16.30. Yeah, you're fine. It does look good. Good job. Good trading. Credit blow up is unlikely for now. Yep, I would agree. You would argue that that eventual crisis is guaranteed as a result of infrastructure destruction in the ME. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about. The lagging effects of the wanton destruction of commodities infrastructure is going to slowly bleed into. I mean, it's possible, but I mean, people have been talking about this for years. So, I mean, not exactly specifically what you're talking about. I'm just talking about, like, I saw a tweet yesterday, like, the gold guy has called the 87 of the last 2 bear markets. It was so, like, yep, he has. The guy's been calling for a bear market since 2000, right? He's gotten 2 out of the last 87 calls. 2 of them were correct. So, I mean, if you trade that info, you're going to get destroyed. Gold and silver are kind of trading inversely to the dollar right now because of the absolute insane move they had a while back. They're just chopping. They're just chopping back and forth. There is trading opportunities to be had on it, but the longer that you go doing this, the smaller your daily ranges are going to get. So those opportunities, I would argue, in terms of looking for intraday moves, will be gone. When silver is moving normally, it has like a 0.5% intraday move. A 0.5% entire daily range. Like, to me, that's not volatile enough to look for trades on. And gold does the same thing, but gold usually it moves a little bit more. It's like 0.75 to 1.7. So there are scalping. You would have to be so levered up on silver for a 0.5% move to do any good. But it is still moving, a little bit. If I just come down here, you can see that, gold has moved about 0.23%, so 0.25%. You've got almost 2% on silver. So silver is still moving enough to look for trades. It's moving more than a Forex currency. When it starts moving like a Forex currency again, we'll probably be done messing with silver and gold. But it looks like it wants to go lower to me. I still feel confident in saying that your 2026 high is probably in on silver. So if you're looking for long-term investment opportunities on silver, understand that you could be holding this thing for the next 25 to 30 years. It is a commodity. It is used in things. So industry, or titans of industry, are going to try to keep prices suppressed, or they have to raise the prices on the products they make to account for the higher valuation in silver. Gold is more of that long-term investment. People like silver better because it's cheaper. Not everybody can spend $6,000 on a bar of gold or a 1 ounce coin. I get it. But I mean, I like it lower. Here's the thing. If banks are still aggressively accumulating, then it will go higher. I haven't seen any bank reports out on what central banks are doing with gold and silver anymore. The last one I seen was in 2025. I haven't seen any reports. I don't know what's going on. I mean, if they're still accumulating, there's a chance that it's going to go higher, but I don't know how much higher it's going to go this year. Whenever I see a blow off top, I am usually I'm usually going to be pretty much done with the asset. I'm going to catch a couple volatility moves out of it, and I'm going to just put it on the back burner because it's going to do a whole lot of nothing for a long time. It looks constructive, like on the daily time frame. It is making higher lows, right? And you have been making higher lows on the weekly time frame. This looks constructive. but that's coming off of lower highs. So you're range bound, right? You're range bound. You're building a wedge. Building a wedge. This is where support should be if silver's going higher. You got the daily 21, you've got the daily 50 on the RSI. You also have the weekly open, which is an objective level. So if silver's going higher, this is where support would want to be. So, I mean, you could target 4-hour support if you think it's going higher, which would be a little bit lower than the weekly open. You can see that trade is already played out today. It may come back. You may get another opportunity. But on the very near term, if it fails here, I would be more of a bear than a bull. All of this is considered a trap to me. All of this price action, every bit of this. So you got above it, and you even got your cross, and it looked very constructive. It's in price discovery. It's not trending. It's in discovery. This could be a trap now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could get a whole lot of this for the next 2 weeks. There's no real good signal on it. If I was looking for a trade on it today, I would be bearish. And for whatever reason, Forex.com does not give us volume data. Yeah, I'd be more bearish than bullish on silver today. I wouldn't be looking for the trade right here, right now. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I could have shorted this. Yeah, absolutely. As long as it's trading under this price right here, I could have a bearish bias on it. Very easily, this would be a short side entry for me if it fails there. I've got deltas on my side. I'm under the 50 here. I'm under the 21. The 200's above it. It looks good for downside continuation. But I also understand that silver is being bought up by a lot of retail participants right now, because they think it's going higher. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the best thing to look at for shorts or longs for me right now. But technical analysis being is what it is, as long as it's under 77.57, I could be short. USD JPY is actually getting pretty hammered this morning. I'm wondering if that is USD weakness or yen strength. It's going to be USD weakness. Yeah, the pound is the strongest asset on the day, and it's the only one that is up. This is absolute pathetic. Look at these currencies. You've got a 0.05% move on the Swissy, 0.04% on the euro, 0.02 on the pound, 0.05 on the yen, 0.078 on the CAD. New Zealand is down the most at 0.4. It's almost down 0.5%. Australian dollar is unchanged on the day. Dollar is unchanged on the day. Everything is unchanged except for the New Zealand dollar. Absolute insanity. Unched. Unched sucks. Everything is pretty much unched from where this stream started. Pingu is unched. Oil is unched. Literally everything is unched. SPY is up slightly. It's actually down from where it closed yesterday, but it's unched. Just a whole lot of unched. Bitcoin is even unched, as it's 0.3 to the downside. Pingu is up 2. So much sideways price action. There's no news this week. Not really. Not like huge US news or anything. That's probably maybe why. And you got people waiting on the straight to do something. If Bitcoin breaks out to the upside, I think Pingu gets stopped out. Yeah, a whole lot of nothing across the board today. Silver actually is the only thing that is moving, as it's down 1.6, 1.7%. So had you shorted the day open, you would be up right now. If you shorted the day high, you would be doing good right now. Yeah, it looks like it wants to continue a little bit. You're right into support. So you're like, this is inverse to what the dollar is doing right now. The dollar is doing the exact same thing, but to the upside, right? You go to the daily chart on the DXY, you were earlier. You're not now, but earlier today, you were testing the 50. You're testing the 21. It's exactly kind of what's going on here. It looks good for downside continuation. If you're short silver, I would hold it, as it could head down towards the bottom of the range. You're going to have to contend with this price right here. That's the open of April. That is going to be potential support. But since you've had the blow off top, right, I would feel more confident that that support level breaks over time. Because what have you done here in the month of April? Nothing. You've done nothing. You pulled back inside of March's range and they front ran monthly supply. It looks good for downside continuation. But on the weekly, it looks fine as long as it's not below the April open, right? So you're kind of at this, like, just can't short into support. But yeah, and gold probably going to look a lot like silver. Yeah, I would argue as long as gold is under yesterday's high, it's probably a short. Yeah, it looks like you're breaking down here. On the 3-day, you're finally letting loose. So any pullback to 48.33 and failure to me would be shortable. It would be a shortable opportunity. You're under the 50 here, and you've been under it for a few days. So chances are, if you break back up into this region, you're going to be back above it, and you're going to look more bullish than bearish. So essentially, you need this thing to break down today or tomorrow, or it's going to look like a support hold. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of things that are kind of just grinding. Not many things are moving really big. XMR did have a big breakout earlier on in the week, but I didn't catch it. I wasn't looking for it, so missed that. Zcash looks like it's trying to break back to the upside here. This thing has a full-on bullish look on the daily time frame. You've gotten a golden cross You've gotten everything that you need for upside continuation on Zcash. Now, I do know that all the devs left. I don't know if they got new devs back. This looks like some kind of bullish catalyst here. But in terms of structure and what we look for, technically speaking, this looks fine for upside continuation trades. It's into resistance, obviously, being February's high. But, I mean, on the daily chart, it looks really, really good. In the month of April, looks really, really good. If you can close back above the VWAP today, that would look very constructive, and I could probably be a buyer on Zcash tomorrow or this weekend if it pulls back to either here or here and holds. I would be more of a buyer than a seller. But it's got to close back above the VWAP. As of right now, it looks like the sellers are still trying to keep it down. Here, let me just look at the deltas real quick. Yeah, the deltas are showing me nothing. I would argue that the sellers are more aggressive in this month than the buyers are. But really no big breakdown, so that's odd. A short squeeze could be getting ready. I mean, it's already kind of had a short squeeze, but another one could be coming as these are higher lows. Yeah, I mean, I could take that risk. I wouldn't be interested in buying it if it's trading back under this price. If it's holding it, I would be interested in being a buyer for the short squeeze. Looks really good. Looks really good. Yeah, that I stand by that analysis. You're not buying it if it's trading under 311. And you can't buy it here. You got to wait for it to pull back. I don't know if it does pull back all the way to there. It could. It's still trading in this very tight range here. But it's still anybody's game. I would argue this candle right here is the dominating factor. It's still anybody's game. But I would say the bulls have more of a edge. Bitcoin rallying. All right. All right. All right. Looks good. How is coin looking on the weekly, good or bad? I would assume it looks good. Bitcoin looks pretty good here. On the weekly, it looks bad. I mean, this is February. Is it February? No, it's January. So where's your yearly open? Up there. So you're still bearish on the year, right? But as long as you're under that, it's going to look bad. It looks constructive on the monthly. You got a new month getting ready to open. It was a good looking week last week. Bitcoin's been going up for the last 4 weeks though. So, I mean, there's earnings coming up on this in a couple of weeks. It looks okay, but I would argue any retest of 230s going, the first opportunity, the first tag of that would be a sell, not a buy. But that's only because of what that level is. If I'm right and the low is in on Bitcoin, then I would assume it breaks out above this, right? But that's if I'm right, and only time will tell if I'm right. I don't have a magic 8-ball. They've been accumulating this for a long time. The bears have had plenty of macro reasons to continue to kill this thing. And for whatever reason, they quit. They quit trying to kill it. That's the only bullish argument you can make on this. The longer it holds support, the better it looks long term. I love to see things build in long-term ranges like this, as it does indicate sell side exhaustion. We finally got that lower 30-minute low. This is the same thing it did last time before a big dump too. It literally traded sideways AF for 2 solid days. And then the dump happened at like some random time. If we get another big move like that, will I be lucky again? Because I was lucky the first time, according to Joe. I give him shit over that. He knows I'm just messing with him. There is some luck in it, but obviously you catch enough of those kind of moves, you have to wonder, is there an edge there? I mean, mathematically speaking, the answer is yes. I don't know that a big move in oil is coming. I guarantee you, though, if they come out and make another deal and the straight gets open, oil pukes. You know what I mean? It makes sense. That's what would happen. Could it do the opposite because everybody's looking for that? I would argue that not everybody's looking for that. If everybody was looking for the short on oil, if the sellers were more aggressive, this data would tell you that. The buyers have been more aggressive every day this week. Every day this week. Except for Monday. No, sorry, Sunday. Every day this week, the buyers have been the aggressors. And price has confirmed their bias. So I seem to be on the outskirts looking for the oil short. On the wrong side. We started looking for it yesterday, though. It can take a couple of days, and I could be wrong. Obviously. Yeah. I'm not liking the price action I'm seeing, I can tell you that. I'm glad we made a 30-minute low, but yesterday this thing was moving super slow also. When it moves super slow like that for a long time, that's when you get these random massive wicks that literally get no continuation. It's just literally liquidating all of the traders. Literally liquidated the weekly high, and then you're still here. You're still in the same range. No trend at all for the last 2 days. Be nice to see it top out and head lower. Tesla earnings were great until they mentioned raising capex spending over to $25 billion. Then it tanked. Gotcha. Thanks for telling me that, because like I said, I didn't listen to the the earnings call. Elon and company suck at earnings calls. They answer their questions, but responses leave you with more questions. Got it. Yeah. More debt. Yep. Telecom build out in 2000. Shale build out in 2014. CapEx implosion is always prevalent. The XY is dropping. Yeah, it's making fresh day lows, but it's still inside of yesterday's range. It's dropping pretty aggressively on the USD JPY front, but it's still also in yesterday's range. So I would argue that it's not a dump by any stretch of the imagination. It is down on the day, though. You are correct. It is down on the day, and it has made fresh lows. But this, in context of the last 3 days, would only be a pullback, not a dump. Like I said, if you're looking at larger time frame charts, you'll see that and you'll understand what I'm talking about when I say yay or nay on the dump. In order for this to be a dump, you would have to take out yesterday's low at a bare minimum. Then you can say the DXY dumped. Like this. That's a dump. This is a very tiny pullback. Very tiny pullback. It's a bearish engulfing 8 hour. That's good. You just got a brand new 8 hour candle. That's good. This candle could absolutely close up here. Easily. Here's one right here. This candle could do the exact same thing that this candle did and close above this high. This is a pullback. That is it. It is a pullback. Okay. Looking at the 5 minute though, it probably does look pretty dumpy. Yeah, it does. Pretty dumpy. On the 3 day, dude, this thing is still up on highs. Like if you measured this range, you're still above the midpoint. And the weekly is a very small inside week range pullback. So hopefully this ends up being the top of the weekly range. Today's Thursday, so I wouldn't anticipate that. But if this was happening on Tuesday, I would. I would be balls deep short the dollar. But it's Thursday. So the weekly range is actually up. Just down today. Oil is still exactly where it's been all morning. And we could see another one of these piece of garbage spikes soon. So when I see aggressive buyers like this, and even when it's trending but price isn't, it makes me think there is an iceberg seller up here. Somebody who's hiding their orders. But we've seen them get run over before. It still looks constructive and bullish. If I was long oil from like 95.58, I would not even be concerned with that position. Not even a little bit. This looks very good. Looks very constructive. As you're getting, expansion, range, expansion, range, expansion, range, expansion, range. If that continues, oil's going to break out or at least retest 100 by tomorrow, probably. The sellers are definitely not in control. They're on the back feet. The buyers have been winning all week. And I don't see any reason for that to change here, other than where it is technically. Technically. Ooh, and I like this too. That this is getting, the ranges are getting smaller and smaller on oil. Where it's right here. So if this is a trap, we want to see it hold. We don't want to see fresh highs today. We want to see this high remain the high. If it does, then maybe tomorrow we get the move lower. But we'll see. I probably will not even have a bearish bias on oil if it does make fresh highs today, tomorrow. I would leave it alone. So Pingu just set a potential trap here. Let's see what happens. You got a higher close. You took out resistance with a close. So did Bitcoin, same thing. Bitcoin's looks a little bit more legit. But remember, Bitcoin, well, now you're back to positive, so never mind. So it's just going to be a choppy, freaking range-bound, super small intraday range. Inside day candle with a very tiny range. Damn it, man. Also, don't forget, on top of oil options expiring, we have April Bitcoin futures expiring Friday. Well, the options that we were looking at earlier were Bitcoin options, not oil. Bitcoin options. A lot of repositionings there will likely, yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you get a large expiration like that, and it is a big one, there is a lot of open interest on this, on tomorrow's expiry. Lots and lots of open interest here tomorrow. So things could get wonky tomorrow. You could get big moves in both directions, and today's an inside day, so it's kind of setting up for a larger move tomorrow. If today's range stays this small and puny all day, I'd be concerned. Yeah, I'm thinking oil is probably going to break out today. Yeah, cause I mean, yeah, it looks like it wants to go higher. They're just so sideways. So very sideways. This range is literally everything. The entire daily range was set yesterday at the open. Hate that. I think a lot of people may be underweight long positions with Warsh's coming Fed regime. Maybe, but I mean, here, let me see if I can dig it up. Oh, that's the wrong thing anyways. I need this. Yeah, I did so much. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to dig it up. Okay, so here's one. So if we look at the breadth indicator, you can see that this bull market is happening on very, very, very puny breadth. So literally just tech. So it looks like a short squeeze, right? You're just squeezing tech shorts. There's very little breadth. But if we look at actual positioning, this is institutional options, call put direction ratio. The calls are heavy, dude. This entire month. Heavy. This is all the way back to January 2025. Like, they were bullish this month specifically, right? Why? What changed? What changed? So while everybody out there and their brother is as bearish as they can be right now because of breadth indicators and this and that, they're not looking at the overall demand for call volume from institutions. And I don't care how bearish you are. When I see a chart like this, my bias is instantly shifted. This isn't retail. Retail was as short as they have been in the last 15 years. The spike like this was on the put side. And then you go look at the S&P 500. It's like, they're very bullish, guys. Why? Why are they bullish in April? What has Bitcoin done in April, by the way? It's bullish. It's not as bullish as risk, but it hasn't started an epic short squeeze yet. If that starts happening soon, you won't be able to catch it, probably. I mean, I don't know that's going to happen. I don't. Because open interest isn't that, like, on the big expirations. You can see that there's not a massive call skew on the big expirations. They're similar. I would argue the bulls are a little bit more aggressive, though, than the bears are. So, I mean, I just feel like some people, I mean, obviously it's going to happen. Some people are going to get left behind, and they're going to get left behind because they've been listening to a lot of, in my opinion, probably not so great data. But it is what it is. I don't know that it's going to happen, though. This thing could very much roll over and go make fresh lows. It is not my base case. My base case is that it probably breaks out and starts ripping. And the bears are so blindedly bearish, they will continue to short it all the way back up. And they'll get wrecked because they're on the wrong side of the freaking option flow. They're on the wrong side of price, and they're on the wrong side of momentum. We just haven't really seen the momentum yet. That's why a lot of people are still very bearish. And I can make the case for the bear side on this too, because it has not been aggressively moving higher. It's barely been moving higher. It's almost like nobody's even trading this thing. Not compared to how bearish it was. But that's the thing. That's the whole thing for me. The momentum is the signal, was the signal. It was aggressively getting crushed. It looks like a perfect measured move, and it's not that big of a bear, but that's wrong. Bitcoin it got oversold on the weekly. That's usually a pretty good, okay, the bearish side of the trade, it might be done. It looks really good here still. But I mean, we'll see what it does in the coming weeks. Obviously, if it breaks back down below February's high, you can have your bear hats on. At some point, though, I would argue that you're going to need to turn that off. I try to keep people on the right side of the market for the majority of the year. We started buying Bitcoin or looking for longs over here. This was our, one of our first early longs. We got stopped out because the next day made a fresh low. And then we tried to buy again over here. We got stopped out again. Like, it has been a difficult trade to get people on the right side of the market. But if you look at what price I was trying to get people long. Because remember, this community, price is king. It is king. Price sets up our bias. It literally does everything. It dictates whether we win or lose. But I've been trying to get people long since 65K. Bitcoin's trading at 78,424 right now. In the meantime, everybody's been looking for fresh lows. Even I had shorts on. I still have shorts open. But those shorts are just a hedge to protect my portfolio. It's not to make money if Bitcoin breaks down. My positioning is skewed to the upside, not to the downside. If I was bearish on Bitcoin, I would be more skewed to the downside. I would be looking to make money on the move lower like I was in 2022. I was trying to get paid in 2022. And I did. That's where my Bitcoin came from. I'm wrong on the intraday time frames. You know what I mean? But on the long-term stuff, we do a really good job of keeping people on the right side of the market. And we take everything into account. And, it is what it is. Unfortunately, people were selling on this day, and they probably shouldn't have been. But only time will tell. There is some negative factors that can be made. You are in a downturn on the business cycle and liquidity. Not the GLI. I'm not talking about that or the M2. I'm not talking about that either. I'm talking about the same liquidity or the liquidity that the Howell guy tracks at cross-border capital. Because he tracks a lot of different things. He's not just looking at M2 or the GLI. He's looking at other things. He's looking at how heavy are they printing. He's looking at the whole entire world. Those indicators are pretty damn good indicators. They have a really good track record, at least. When that starts to turn back up, and according to the last interview that I saw with him, he said, it could start happening anytime after, say, the start of Q3 going into Q4 2026. That starts to turn. Okay. So, if it does, you're definitely going to want to be long Bitcoin, not short. I mean, even he could be wrong. Everybody, any analyst can be wrong. Just mitigate your risk. That's all you can do. Just mitigate your risk. Put a stop out. You'll be fine. What he said in his hearing was very interesting. Pro-growth outlook. Yes. Warsh is pro-growth. He is. Yeah, we're in a rate cutting environment. We think that might continue, but yields are definitely going to be a factor. So keep an eye on yields. If 30-year, 20-year, and 10-year yields break out, then the rate cutting may subside. If they roll back over, then we'll be right back on the verge of, he'll be cutting. He'll be cutting, not hiking. Hiking isn't even being priced into the market. It's only cuts. And right now, or the last time I looked, it could be different now, but the last time I looked, going out to December, they're still pricing in 2 cuts. Ooh, see now they're pricing in 1. But it's such a small, it's 1 to 2 cuts are being priced in. A pause is so, not even. That's 2 cuts here. So this is where we currently are, 350, 375. So 1 to 2 cuts. That's what the market's pricing in. Now we want to see yields start to roll. But, they are not doing anything. Ten-year looks okay. 10-year's backing off. But, yeah, I don't even care about that. Just watch price. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Price is king. It always is. Pingu just exploded to the upside. Bonk. So there goes the stop out. What happened to Bitcoin? What did it do? Nothing. It's moving to the upside a little bit here. Dollar got a little bit aggressive to the downside. Would love to see oil follow suit. So this is a pretty good indication that upside continuation is coming. It's a higher low. Higher low. Next run of liquidity, 90.13. The bulls have defended. So yeah, it doesn't look good for the shorts on Pingu now. Bitcoin looking good also. Buyers. People are going to be looking for shorts all the way up to 79, 521. So it's still anybody's game. Euro spiked right back up to highs on the day. That's after being negative pretty much all morning. Oil is still doing nothing. So boring. Damn it, dude. Yeah, there wasn't very good setups today. We have a bullish bias on Bitcoin. We want to be looking for longs. We want to be buying daily lows whenever given the chance. This week it's been pretty much bullish out the gate. You had to buy the open or this pullback here, which happened literally during the London session, or you got one more chance around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock on Tuesday, and that's it. That was it. It's been pretty much up since. Today you had an opportunity. I mean, I'm already long. There's no point in me looking for a fresh long on Thursday when I'm holding a long already. I would love to see oil roll over though, and it's not doing it. So I just probably might leave oil alone, but I mean, it's not threatening to stop me out yet. Oh, I guess I'll leave it open, but with a very tight stop. Be careful. We're going to wrap this thing up. The markets just are not really doing anything. They're continuing the trend they've been on all week. I missed the euro long, but I wanted to give it one more day. I didn't think the dollar would reject the 21 as strongly as it did today. I was kind of thinking it would try to go up a little higher to fill that gap. And I usually don't care about gaps, but that's a big freaking gap. It's so big. Like, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way the dollar breaks down and leaves this big of a gap. That's a massive gap. This gap is bigger than today's ranges. Like, this little baby candle would fit in this gap. That is a large effing gap. This was a large gap too, and it came right back in 5 days to fill that. Tiny gap filled. There's a very tiny gap up here. I would argue that's filled because it's so small. And not only because it's small, if you look at the gap, the intraday's low is here. So price traded through that gap before the day closed. That generally doesn't matter, but I mean, it rolled over just literally and left and said, see you later. And it never came back. So I don't know if I would even classify this as a gap or an unfilled gap, right? But then to find any more gaps that aren't filled on the dollar, you're above 110. And I do not see any. So 114 is where you would have to look for the next upside gaps. And I'm not even going to do that. It doesn't matter to me that much, usually. So are there any downside gaps? I mean, not really. There's one here, but same scenario. You traded to 91.39 intraday. It backed off and closed and gapped up. But I mean, it still would be a gap. Technically speaking, it is not filled. So there's the next downside gap. Because this one, same, right? It's the same. It traded way up there pre-market, or, intraday. Then fell a little bit, then gapped up. But the next day, you did put a wick down. but not all the way to the close. So there would just be a very tiny gap. Tiny gap. And you come over here, this is a large gap. So it just seems to me like it would probably want to fill at least half of it. But it doesn't have to. It does not have to. We'll see what it does. All right, we're going to wrap this up. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I'm going to continue to watch oil. I think oil could be a potential short side setup. It doesn't look great for the short here today. So maybe give it a day to see what it wants to do. You're already breaking out above the 50. So the short would have been yesterday if it was going to be, probably, right? You're above yesterday's high. So you have upside continuation happening today. As long as you're trading above yesterday's high, this is not a rejection at all. And maybe keep an eye on it Friday. It won't be live publicly Friday, but maybe we get something out of it. But it could just be changing the whole trend dynamic. I doubt it, but we'll see. We'll see what it does. This 4-hour candle has not changed since we went live. It looks exactly the same. It's up a little bit higher, but we've been watching this price all morning, and it has to no avail, right? So whenever I do this, whenever I take positions, if I'm sitting in the position for more than an hour, I start to feel like I'm on the wrong side of the market. So I would argue that if you're short oil right now, you could probably close it, as we've been sitting in it for 2 hours. If it was going to roll over, it would have most likely through the New York session. So that makes me feel like it might be going higher. Be careful. Make sure your stops are mitigated if you are short oil right now. I'll try to, if I see a better setup later on, I'll try to post it on Twitter. But my opinion most likely will not change. The deltas are they're just too bullish. The order flow is too bullish here. The bears have not been able to do anything with price, so they need to show up pretty damn soon. All right, you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Make sure you guys trade safe. Make sure you guys trade smart. And as always, happy trading, everybody.